Hello, Bob.
Good morning,
Good
CF.
morning
Yes.
from all the way from Orlando, Florida, right? In this LinkedIn live session, right? So nice to see you again here, Bob. We're going to talk about how the world is changing in terms of crop protection going forward. Lots of different things happening. But before that, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm C.S. Liew from Pacific Agri-Science based in Singapore. And here's Bob. Bob, you can tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Bob Trogele, and my company is AMAC Farms, LLP, out of North Dakota. I live in Newport Beach, California. And it's always a pleasure to be with you, CS. And I want to thank the Trade Summit Board for allowing us to have a discussion.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we get into the discussion, Bob, you just finished off your career in MVAC 2-3 months ago. I think people in the crop protection industry are dying to know what Bob is going to do going forward, you know, in terms of continuing to contribute to the industry, right? What are your plans? Everybody wants to know that.
Yeah, so I'm the president of two companies which I own 100% of, which is Trogele Energy, which invests into the oil and gas industry. I've been doing that since 2007, and I'm a board member and an independent director. Okay. And then in 2017, I also formed another company called AMAC Farms, which I'm representing today, which invests in farmland and also in venture. And I'm going to be working in different boards and also looking for different investment opportunities with capital.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we'll be seeing you around.
That's
even
right.
Though you have moved out of the company, but today you're still here in Orlando together with so many people from all over the world attending this trade summit here in Orlando.
Yeah,
so that's good.
Yeah, I think we've both been on the board of the Trade Summit for many years.
Absolutely.
And we've done this before.
Yes.
But today, you have the job of interviewing me. Last time I interviewed you.
Okay, all right. And we can do that.
I tried to prepare, but I know you're a tough interviewer, so.
No, we will try and have a chat. Pretty much like a fireside chat, right?
Okay.
About this subject of changes that are taking place in the industry and how the industry is going to respond to these rapid and mega changes, right? That we're going to talk a bit about that. But before that, let me kind of state what the scenario is right now, right? So there's overproduction, lots of capacity being built up in China as well as in India in the last 10 years or so. Many formulators have also turned into technical grade manufacturers,
That's right.
So there's a lot of production going on, and yet globally in this industry of $75 billion of crop protection chemicals, 93% is now generic. As recent as 20 years ago, we were still talking about 70-30, 70% generic, 30% proprietary or patented products. Now we're talking about 93%. So you can imagine the margin erosions. That in itself is a major driving force behind some of these impending changes in the supply chain in terms of technology that allows farmers to be more efficient, right? And that will allow resellers and wholesalers to become more efficient. Lots of technologies out there, and they need to adopt these. So we want to talk a little bit about all these new technologies as well, right? Then there is also the war going on in Middle East, in Ukraine, that is driving a lot of the ups and downs in terms of pricing, in terms of supplies, in terms of logistics. Then there is follow-up sanctions that further drive all these gyrations, right? So how are people in the industry going to respond to that and try to mitigate some of these fluctuations, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that too, right?
Okay.
I don't think Bob and I have all the solutions that the world needs, but then again, we'll try and provide whatever opinions that we have, right?
Correct.
So
correct.
based on what I've said now, just now, what do you think, Bob? Is that a right picture that I'm painting in terms of the current scenario?
Yes, I would say probably the other issue which is sort of creeping into the ag business is the government debt. And how will that be paid, globally? We just saw the reaction in Japan with the equity markets going down 14% overnight.
Right.
Right. The U.S. national debt, right now they're paying yearly now this year more interest than the national budget. Right. So it's just another bubble which is going to affect farming globally.
Right. So you think interest rates will continue to rise?
Well, the Europeans just
That definitely has a major impact on world economy. Yeah.
Well, the question is, will lower interest rates really change that scenario? Because it'll lower somewhat the interest payments for the governments, but the governments are still squeezing out the small business owner,
Right.
and the small business owner is the farmer.
Right, absolutely.
And they're competing now with the government for money in the banking sector.
Yeah.
So this is something that we have to watch and see what the evolution is.
Yeah.
Now those businesses that have good balance sheets and have good cash flow and are good marketers, I think they'll do well.
Okay.
But I think the result will be globally, you'll see more consolidation at farm gate.
Okay. All right.
So that's definitely going to happen because that'll be a key driver besides the low commodity prices right now, right?
Right.
So the cost of doing business has gone up for farmers, and the let's say the competition as far as supply, meaning to demand on the commodity side, the prices are down, right?
Right.
Globally,
Absolutely.
right? So
Farm gate prices are down, and
Yeah.
yet prices at the consumer level is going up. So there's a bit of an anomaly, right? Farmers are not making money because of all the factors that we have mentioned so far. And then at the same time, consumers are moaning about having to pay more for food.
Well,
so,
the food companies, the processors are making quite a lot of money, right?
Yes.
They're selling smaller packaging
Right.
at higher prices.
Yeah.
And if you go into the restaurants, especially in the U.S., you're paying probably 100% more than you did 3 years ago.
Absolutely.
So they're passing on. The problem on the supply side at farm is we're producing too much food.
Absolutely. I always say that. That's overproduction overall.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have something like 3/4 billion people around the world that are undernourished, malnourished.
Right.
But I always have the view that the world cannot price their commodities, their food commodities, to feed this, 3/4 billion people, right? At the expense of the rest of the world, the farming community especially, because they need to make money. Without them making money, we're all going to be in trouble.
But CS, basically, if you're in an oversupply situation, in an open market, it will correct, right? And some people will go out of business. They'll either retire, they will either sell, right? So there will be a continued consolidation.
Yeah, okay. Talking about consolidation at the farming level, what do you think of this scenario of trying to contain climate change? Lots of governments are aiming for net zero by 2050, and some are even talking about 2040, not 2050. And because of that, there are all kinds of measures that are taken that are very unfavorable for the farming community. For instance, in Denmark, I think it was Denmark, governments are buying up small dairy farms and shutting them down because they want to contain methane emissions, right?
Well,
that is just one example. There are lots of these, and that's the part that was leading to all these farmer protests early this year all over Europe. So how do you think this drive towards net zero, containment of climate change, all going to impact food production and agriculture?
Well, I see on the growth side, for example, when you go into fuels, right? So if you look at, biodiesel coming from soybeans,
Right.
when that comes, and it's going to take some time, maybe five years, maybe 10 years, but as soon as you have that technology, coming into the market,
Right.
it will we'll have a bump in, at least in the soybean market for prices because
Right.
there won't be enough supply,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So Brazil and the United States and India, Ukraine will all see a bump. There'll be a shift to soybean acres, so that's a
Right.
positive. On the carbon side, that market continues to grow. So we're talking about a $200 billion plus business. I don't know where it is today, but going to $1 trillion. And I think once the incentivization for the growers is there, I just recently talked to a company. They're paying now about $30 an acre.
Right.
Okay, so that's in hectares by 2.5, right?
Right.
So it's interesting. Some people who have done research in this area say at $50 an acre, that will really ignite
Yeah.
the situation on farm. A lot of companies like Syngenta are going into soil health in a big way.
Right. Absolutely.
Because soil is the number one asset for the grower,
Yes.
and if he's looking at it from a sustainability standpoint of the farm, he's going to take care of that asset.
Right.
That's
right.
why we see, for example, in Brazil, the nutrient business, the biorational business going like crazy.
Yeah. Double-digit growth.
Because
Yeah.
the soil
Cargo,
is not as rich, and the pest pressure is double in a tropical
Right.
scenario. So that market will continue to grow,
Right.
and there'll be new technologies coming into that market,
Right.
both on the input side, but also on the, what I'm going to say, the trading side or the mapping side, the technology side, the digital side is really what I'm saying.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So that's
I
how
was going to ask you, obviously, like I said, going forward, everybody in the supply chain from farm gate to a farm itself to the consumer point of sale, there needs to be innovation, right, to make themselves more efficient. So what do you think are some of these upcoming game-changing technologies that you know of? Of course, I know a few, which I'm going to perhaps talk a little bit about those as well. But let's hear from you first. What do you think it's coming up in terms of any game-changing technologies that will be very beneficial to the, as I say, entire supply chain?
So I see it from two aspects. I see it from the aspect of, one, I sit on the board of the Global Ag Tech Initiative, right? And so I see a lot of companies coming through,
Right.
offering technology. And then I see it from the investment side. So a lot of companies approaching me as far as
Right.
looking for, board participation,
Right. Yeah.
and maybe an equity participation.
Okay.
Preferably both, but
Right.
I would say that the game is changing somewhat. For instance, I'll give you an area where I see a company approaching me that's going to be investing in ag connectivity for rural economies.
Okay. Right.
Right, so that's a niche, right? And it's a great need. And the challenge here really is if you bring digital technology into those areas,
Right.
they need connectivity.
Right.
So that's a great model maybe to invest in.
Okay.
I'm talking about a company like Emergent Technologies, but they're still in early stage seed rounds.
Right.
Then I see companies that are offering really everything from regulatory to product development to GLP, young startups like that, like Avilia down in Brazil. It's another company which is already monetizing and making money, but looking for international growth.
Okay.
Then I see other technologies. So it's really a question of what do you want to be in an agribusiness space?
Okay, right.
Do you want to be just an input supplier? Do you want to be just a manufacturer? Do you want to be just a toller?
Right.
But whatever you do, do that extremely well.
Yep.
But if you want to really be an agribusiness and be let's say a technology supplier to the farm gate, you really have to diversify your business, and in a smart way, because it is changing so fast.
Right, absolutely.
And the market is adapting so fast.
Right.
And the modern grower, I mean, I'm saying now the grower that's going to be there in 10 years, you know, these are young entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not the older guys who are either handing it over to their sons or daughters.
Yeah.
It's guys who are investing, going in right now.
Yeah.
And you know, they're driving this digitalization
absolutely.
very fast into their business.
The younger farmers, that generation of farmers in their 30s, 40s, they're the one who are going to drive digitalization and tech forward.
Yeah,
right?
and artificial intelligence is coming also in.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, I'm a big fan of Visor Pro.
Okay.
And you know, you know, when I see the productivity, so now you can take, let's say, a technical representative of your company.
Right.
And where he was doing maybe before like 5,000 acres, or maybe only servicing 10 customers. Right. You can 5x, 10x that productivity of that person, because he's now going to be more. He's got a better tool to work with, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's going to change the marketplace, and it's going to drive down the number one issue for a lot of people in the ag market in the rural space: labor shortage.
Yeah. Okay.
They're going to have to bring in artificial intelligence to, say, manage that labor shortage.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And at the same time, lower their costs and increase their productivity.
Yeah, I can see a lot of that happening in terms of labor shortages, even in developing countries.
That's right.
For instance, Thailand, they are now having workers coming over from Cambodia, Myanmar, the poorer countries around Thailand.
That's right.
So you can imagine, right, going forward, this is not sustainable. They need to have the new tools and whatnot. Talking about new tools, like I said, I want to add a couple more to what you have said. I think gene editing going forward will have a big place in crop protection. You know, we are very limited in terms of herbicide tolerance, right? You have Roundup Ready genes, that's the big one, and then you have a couple of others. That's about it. But there are a lot more generics out there that could be used that way, but you've got to do some gene editing to make these crops tolerant to more herbicides so that the farmers have more choices. And having said that farmers have more choices, don't forget what I said earlier. 93% of the world's crop protection now in the marketplace is generic. And as I say, margin erosion, right?
But
so what better way than to have your herbicide being now registered for use over the crop, right? Through gene editing.
But I want to add to that, CS, right? For the farmer, the gene editing is that he can get better output traits.
Right.
I mean, the old GMO technology didn't really satisfy the market as much as we wanted to. Right. But with the gene editing, you can be much more precise.
Right. Absolutely.
And therefore, I think the output trait, meaning the quality of the production for the farmer, is going to go up.
Right.
And then the adaptation globally is going to increase because you can now customize through the gene editing to the climatical and soil conditions around the world.
Yeah,
so that's the other big bump that I see.
Right. Okay, that's good to
but you're right.
see that dimension as well. But then there's also the where I studied agronomy, Iowa State University in Ames. Right there in Ames, there's a company that is now talking about promoting pollination on demand. Right? Rather than waiting for the corn to be pollinated by nature, they're collecting all these pollens and then being able to apply it. So not only that you have a yield increase, but more importantly, what is this pollination on demand? Supposing the price of ethanol is going up, so you want the corn harvest to have higher oil content, right? So you can actually then order the pollens that will confer that trait to the crop. So while the crop is growing, the farmers can monitor where do I want to target the harvest. Do I want more oil in the corn harvest, or do I want more protein or whatever? And then you call up and say, I want that pollen because I know prices for ethanol is good, right? So there's this kind of technology coming into place as well.
But you know, I'm thinking here also producing rice seed, producing cereal seed. That must be a great technology.
Rice is also another one that they are working on. So those are, again, could potentially be game-changing technologies, because up to now, you cannot collect pollen and store, but they have this technology that can even store for 2 years. Normally, pollens will last only an hour to 5 hours, and that's it, right? Yeah, so there's that, and then of course there's also, in the bio sector, we have bioinsecticides, we have biofungicides, but we don't have bioherbicides. So another company in the US is now discovering a bioherbicide derived from mint oil, right? So that, not only that is a bioherbicide, it actually kills glyphosate-resistant weeds. So how neat is that? Yeah.
Well, that's a big gap.
Yeah, right.
So if they solve that, they'll make a lot of money.
Yeah, so there are these game-changing technologies in the horizon that I think will have a major impact in terms of, like I said, getting growers to become more efficient, more tools available to them so that they can start to maybe make some money, right? So like I said, if farmers don't make money, we're all in trouble, right? We got to keep looking into that aspect.
So I want to call out to the audience that this guy is on the board of the Iowa State Foundation and giving his time back to his alma mater. And I want to congratulate you on that, CS.
Thank you.
Doing that from Singapore, that's quite a gift.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I try to, give back, to my university, because the reason I'm here today is also because of Iowa State, right?
Right.
So we got to also think about giving back, right? Like companies, you have your corporate social responsibility, but as an individual, we also have to give back to where we got our strengths from, where we derive our knowledge and strengths from, right?
So I really enjoyed this, CS. I mean, we only covered a little bit superficial.
Absolutely.
But I think it's been 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
And I always love talking to you.
Yeah, likewise. And, well, I was going to say that you live in Newport Beach, I live in Singapore. Had we been together in Singapore or in Newport Beach, we could be having this conversation every day.
Yeah, I would love that. So, we're going to be around, I think the two of us, for the next 2 days. So if you want to stop and talk to us about some of the subjects, please feel free to talk to CS or myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pleasure talking to you today.
Yeah.